Good morning. Today is January the 15th of 2026. It is about 10:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Yahweh Elohim, the God of the Bible, and I am going to be discussing today some plans about Iran, U.S. rioters, protesters, the Clintons, Greenland, and then before we get to the daily briefing on the personal home front, today's dinner is going to be homemade beef stroganoff. So, the beef stroganoff, I do it with 100% organic beef, and we get the 90-10. It's a little leaner in terms of there's not a lot more fat, but 80-20 can be good too, depending on what you're cooking. But for a crock pot, you don't want a lot of heavy grease or heavy fats, because it can give you heartburn. And if you too much saturated fat like that can be unhealthy. But it's a really good crock pot meal. You start it early. You use essentially Worcestershire sauce, some golden mushroom soup, onions, paprika, garlic powder, and then a half a cup of water. So it's super easy. And then close to dinner time, whip up the egg noodles, throw in some garlic bread, and bam. Got a home-cooked, warm meal on a good day like today, because it's starting to get chilly. So the cold front pushed in last night. We were kind of expecting it to push in today, but Asheroth said that basically the rain that came through last night, I guess it came a little early. So now we are dropping our temp. We started off today, I think, at like 65-ish degrees, and by the time we got done with the morning drop off with the kids, it was already about 50, like 55, 56. So it dropped quite a bit in just a few hours. So the garden, trying to let it get as much sun as it can. A little bit of sun coming out because it's very overcast, but overall we're gonna let it get the sunlight it needs, and then we'll cover them up for the day, the night. That way the hard freeze doesn't affect them in a negative way. Okay, and where else are we? Oh, so another home front domestic news would be Cameron placed as a finalist in his school for his science. Back in my day, we called it a science fair. Now they call it science showcase. But anyway, so his project, he was on the top of the food chain there. Now he's advancing. Well, first he was first in his class. Then he went to the school-wide competition. Then he passed that one. Now the third level is the district level, which is great because even though he's, only in third grade, he has the opportunity to start racking up scholarships. So that is the path that me and Asherah are obviously trying to, hone in on with him and really foster education. It's huge to us because education makes, essentially, when someone's educated, most of the time, and not just book educated, but you need to be fully educated about life, right? So if you're too heavy in the books and you don't know anything about life, well, then you're still inadequate. Your inadequacies are still going to have... The inadequacies are going to spell problems down the road. So you want to make sure you're well-rounded. And what does that mean, right? That means that when a child is, leaving the nest, you want to make sure that they know how to go grocery shopping. You want to make sure that they know how to cook meals. You want to make sure they know how to do their laundry, how they can balance a checking account. How important things like keeping a decent credit score are. So many young adults are, turning 18, leaving high school, and they're still infantile when it comes to the world. And in a lot of instances in this day and age, right, you don't have parents that even know that stuff. That's a tragedy. We're missing huge swaths of what should be general knowledge, but it's missing out of the youth of the nation, and has been missing for generations. And a lot of this is, again, it's distractions, right? Instead of the youth going over and, watching their mother cook home-cooked meals, or their father in this case, You know, the children are video gaming. They're playing on phones. They're stuck on social media. They're doing all these things, and therefore, that's what's filling the void, right? And as we see with a society that is lazy, you end up with these rioters, right? These activists are just sitting around their asses waiting for some accident to happen so they have a motivating cause to go out and cause trouble. I will get to that. That's not where I'm trying to walk into yet. But I just want to keep it domestic for a minute. So next step for Cam is going to be the districts. And then I guess that's when we're going to be competing so he can get some scholarships early. Because my stepdaughter at this juncture is accepted into Southeastern University, but we're still working on scholarships. So she is trying really hard to get as many of those essays, questionnaires in before the spring, so then she can start getting responses, and hopefully we can cover at least 90 to 95% of the bill. That would be great, because college is expensive, and in her situation, she needs a college like Southeastern. She needs to have, in a way, not hand-holding in a negative way, but she needs to have good mentorship, strong Christian biblical values, and she needs to be able to be surrounded by like-minded people that are not going to lead her astray into the party scene, not going to be room and boarding with males. You know, my perfect vision for her, and it will fruit, because I am her Elohim, and as well as her stepfather. But I want her college experience to be, you know, focused in the books, focused on herself first, right? And then, you know, hopefully at some point in her adventure that she does meet her significant other, right? And obviously she knows the rules regarding that stuff. So, okay, let's get to the work here, the business. Iran. This is the plan for Operation Desert Sand. That did kind of rhyme. I thought that was clever too. So here's truly what I'm thinking. And this is not just my design. Asherah and I discussed this dually, and this was mainly her conception. So she gets the glory on that. But the details from my background being in service, again, not the U.S. military, but in the past I was a contractor on behalf of the DoD. But anyway, I'm thinking 24 special operations personnel, so 2 squads. Each squad has 12. I would say 12 Navy SEALs, 12 Green Berets. That way the U.S. Marines and the Army can go on to a covert, because each side does something a little better. We do a rooftop extraction. So the units can put C4 down to the rooftop, blow the roof, extract Ali Khamenei, and then he needs to be extradited to Israel to stand trial for humanitarian genocide, funding, training, aiding and abetting international terrorist groups. These are all absolutely flamboyantly in the international community's face, and it has yet to be dealt with, because I don't know what else. But it is absurd that the international community as it stands is okay with international terrorism. The jihadist movements, the anti-Jew, the anti-West, the anti-European for that matter, right? The jihadist agendas, the Islamic State, which is the basically the governing body of Ali Khamenei. And again, what do they want to do, right? Their entire reason for living is to kill Jews, which is honestly a waste of time. Like, Hitler had this obsession with killing the Jews. Like, you guys are all obsessed with trying to kill the Jews. Like, go find something else to do. I don't know. But it truly is. It is wicked. It's evil. It's demonic incursion on anybody. Right? It doesn't matter if it's Jews or whoever. But I'm saying, anytime a group, a person, a state, a conglomerate of human beings, if they have hate in their heart and they want to murder anybody, that's an issue. Because Ali Khamenei, the head of Iran for the last 47 years. This is the same regime that is responsible for 9/11. This is the same regime that funds terrorists all around the world. This is the same regime that starves their citizens, kills their citizens, mows them down in the street, unarmed citizens, because they have no water, they have no food, they have no jobs, they have nothing to live for. And this terrorist is openly able to run what is going to be a successful, pious nation in the Middle East. If we remove Ali Khamenei, then guess what? The Middle East could truly experience genuine peace indefinitely. And if Iran's government turns into a republic democracy, which is what I'm vying for, or even if it does go into the hands of the Shah, hopefully it's a constitutional monarchy where there's framework to protect the citizens and the people that is backed up by international alliances like NATO that prevent even kings from doing the crimes that Ali Khamenei has done. So I'm saying either way that goes, that is a 1,000% increase for not only the United States, the safety of Israel, but the international community as a whole is going to save money. Because, guys, we should not be having to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars cleaning up the messes of Islamic jihadist murderers. Islamic jihadist murderers. Gaza's going to get cleaned up. It's going to be rebuilt. But there's going to be no jihad. Okay? There's going to be no jihad. That's not allowed, guys. Open terrorism is not allowed on my creation. So I am strongly advising my administration, President Trump and company, to take this step. I do not want to have any type of air power. I would rather see a small 2-squadron team extract Khamenei, take him to Israel so he can begin trial, and then we can start holding him accountable for his war crimes. Meanwhile, well, let me just cover my note here before I get too far off track. So extract Ali Khamenei to Israel for the trial of humanitarian genocide, funding, training terrorist groups both directly and indirectly, abusing international funds. Like, we can go on forever. I mean, this guy is going to have one of the longest rap sheets to ever stand a public trial if he doesn't die in the extraction, which either way I'm fine with. But he needs to be removed of his position. He needs to be either unalived or he needs to be on trial. And hey, televise it. Who better to persecute Ali Khamenei than the very people that he was trying to kill unjustly, unwarrantedly? The Jews. And during this process, the revolutionists will have a window of opportunity. This is the next phase, but this should happen very, very quickly. So the revolutionists that are out rioting, but rioting for good reasons, right? So rioting in America, bad, because you're stupid and you're rioting for a non-cause. People that are rioting in Iran, keep rioting because you have a cause. You have a true tyrannical government. You have a wicked and evil demonic dictator that has killed, in his own admission, hundreds of thousands of his own people, of the Jews. Guys, this guy is literally a Hitler. What the hell happened? The Allied forces were not going to tolerate a Hitler in the modern world, and people were happy and proud to destroy Nazis because they're Nazis. Like, that needs to strike one of those chords in everybody's mind, heart, and body and soul. Nazism is of the devil. Islamic Jihad is of the devil. Any terrorist group is not of God, is not of me, is not of anything of righteousness. So, during this process, the revolutionists will have a window of opportunity to secure weapons caches and topple the remaining IRGC. Therefore, the Shah can come in and begin to establish normalcy between the West, Israel, and guess what? When you are going to be on the international platform hitting that reset button, that means that all the sanctions, we want to work with Iran. We want to work with the future Shah or both, right? The citizens of Iran. The citizens who say, I want a safe place to live. I want a future for my children. We want education. We want clean water. We want grocery stores. We want to have the modern niceties that the rest of the world is starting to have. Why should the Middle East be stuck in this ancient, archaic, barbarism mode? You know, on my game Civilization, the first thing I do every time is I set out campaigns to go and destroy all the barbarians. I just literally load up on soldiers, load up on chariots. I go out there in my game and I am just destroying every single barbarian outpost that exists. Every time I destroy one, I put a little settler there and bam, we're opening up for business. It's a great strategy. Because guess what? At the end, I may not always have the most science. I may not always have the most music. There's different aspects, but always I have the most smiley faces, the most money, and I do have the largest military. So, and overall, very successful in all of my municipalities, city-states, and all of that. But so this really is going to be the star of the show, Iran. I want this for you. President Trump wants this for you. Europe wants this for you. Because guess what, guys? I think the world also has a misconception, because this, again, I don't hate constantly pointing the finger at Democrats, because I'm just telling the truth. The Democrats are upside down, right? Because they're the ones that are saying, let's embrace jihad. Honestly, because they're so stupid. There's a difference between Islamic jihad and just normal Persians, or just normal. There are normal people that are suffering by the very tyrants that the Democrats and the liberal left are trying to protect. I say we take the Khameneis, the jihads, and all the damn liberal Democrats, and we'll just throw them on some island somewhere and let them all figure it out. You know, because they are stones around the modern world's neck. Because let me tell you something, if we get Khamenei, if President Trump wants to make not only a lasting legacy, I mean, Maduro is, look, if we're talking about fishing, Maduro is like a 3 to 4 pound bass, okay? Khamenei would be on the top 3 record bass catches. I'm saying that is what, in my opinion, if President Trump bags Khamenei, even I, Yahweh Elohim, in the flesh, even I will give the go-ahead for President Trump to receive his Nobel Peace Prize. That, to me, would be worth a Nobel Peace Prize. That, to me, is showing this is for real. We're not going to play around with small fries and try to reap glory. You know, Venezuela, at the end of the day, right? Maduro is he's a terrorist. He's a dictator, right? He's terrible to his people, but he still doesn't hold a candle to Ali Khamenei. So, how is Iran in the situation they're in? Because all the money Iran has made in the last 47 years has went to 2 things: making nuclear bombs to kill Jews, or propping up people, groups like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, all these different ones. They're getting paid by Ali Khamenei. So I want you to understand this. Imagine this tyranny group, this terror organization. They come in, storm Iran almost 50 years ago. They establish some kind of religious heretic. I don't even know what words to use in this one, but I'm saying. And then he's, growing crops of terrorists to go around the country to basically kill people. The head of the snake should have been cut off 46 3/4 years ago. But the international community, because unfortunately most of you are spineless. It's amazing how some of you can even walk up the stairs to Parliament, Europe. But I'm here to tell you, if PT can take what I'm saying put it into action. I know we're at Thursday. Friday is the best time for the United States to conduct any operation because the market's closed. That's a fact, and we don't need to have our financial markets going for major swings, especially in month 1, Q1 of 26. So really, like, we don't need markets to start being volatile. Q1, month 1 of a new year and a new era. This is the dawn of the new era. The bad guys are and need to be hunted down, removed from their comfy positions, and they need to stand trial, and they need to look at the pictures of the genocide that they have caused. They need to look in the faces of the families who no longer have brothers and sons and fathers and mothers and daughters, and the evil that permeates from someone like Ali Khamenei is, in my eyes, the same basket as Hitler. I absolutely can't stand them. There is no place on my creation for them, and especially nowhere on the creation, but especially in Iran. Iran is, again, guys, it wasn't but 50 years ago. Iran, if you go and Google some pictures of what Iran looked like 50 years ago. And before that, like, these were normal countries. These were Western aligned countries. And what happened? Jew hatred is what happened. So it does irk me that the Tucker Carlsons of the world are hugely anti-Semitic. There's no place for anti-Semitism in the Christian world or the Jewish world. I don't want Christians hating Jews, and I don't want Jews hating Christians. Because you're human beings. And if you are a Christian or a Jew, guess what? Newsflash to both of you. You have the same Elohim, the same God. That is me. Like, that's what I mean. So when you're trying to peddle around false narratives, guys, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. You are empowering uneducated, ignorant citizens to set fire to synagogues. And then again, the liberal left, right? They're pissed off because they can't kill babies with abortion. They're pissed off because they can't keep their illegal immigrant friends. They're pissed off because 60% of their vote comes from illegal aliens. They're pissed off because they get paid the most, thousands of percents of stock trade returns with not even their own money, because they're taking cream off of federal money and then investing it themselves. And so guess what? Politics has become one of the richest sectors, when in reality, politics was never meant to be a sector for the rich. In America, politicians are supposed to be almost, if not dead set equal, with the majority of America. They should be middle class. Truly. And President Trump is an exception. Why? Because President Trump made millions, billions, before he ever even considered taking office. He was a successful businessman. Through his failures, he learned to do better. Through his successes, he has maintained that success, and he has grown that success completely separate from the United States government. I'm totally fine with that. But Democrats, I'm not going to go through names because we're going to be here all day. But you take these Democrats, right? How are they getting that much money to invest in stock markets? Oh, because they're the ones that hold the purse. So when what's called block grants or federal funds are injected into their state, guess who has access to that account? The leaders of that state. Guess where the most fraud is in the nation? In all of these blue states. And where the problem with the crime? In these blue states. Why is the crime high? Because the illegal alien numbers are high. Why are we seeing people that can't read plain English and say, well, I'm actually not a protester because I didn't get a permit. I am not staying in one location. Because that's what protesting is. Protesting is when you're holding a sign and you're protesting something that is actually normal, right? You don't like the tax law, or you don't like whatever, but you take it to the vote. You're trying to change the very fundamental framework of America as a Christian nation that is literally like in the Constitution. Then you're a domestic terrorist. And if you're an elected official and you're a domestic terrorist, then yes, your citizenship, if you're naturalized, should be gone. Ilhan Omar, I don't want to see your face ever again. I don't want to see you on the television. I don't want to see you in America. I want to see your ass go somewhere other than my house. America and the earth is my house. Someone take that lady up to space and open the door, please. And you know what? Ocasio-Cortez and Warren and Waltz and Gavin Newsom and Jacob Fry and all these other nutcases can go along with them. You guys can all take a SpaceX flight to Mars or to the moon and let Elon Musk remotely open the door for you. There, go run and float and frolic. Because United States rioters, see, rioting happens when a people are trying to collapse the government. So let's look at this in a mirror effect. The people that are rioting in Iran, they're rioting because they have no food. They're rioting because they have no water. They're rioting because the regime is truly fascist, meaning we're going to just turn off your internet. We're going to make sure that our crimes are not even seen. We're going to make sure that we're continuing to fund terror. We're going to continue, like, that is not even a shade of what is happening in the United States of America. Instead, in the United States of America, you have citizens who are actively and consistently breaking federal law, breaking state law, but yet they're receiving like a pat on the head by their dog owner, the Democrats. So they're getting this placebo thought that they're somehow allowed to do this. You're not allowed to spit on police officers. You're going to be arrested and processed for assault on a police officer. That's called assault on a Leo. That is going to be a crime, and you're going to be processed for it. If you are throwing stuff at police officers, federal officers are police officers, you are going to be arrested, handcuffed on the spot. If you are protesting and you step your butt outside of the yellow line that was set for your protection, then you are considered a threat to that law enforcement officer. If you are a city, state, or local official and you are calling for, anything that obstructs justice, then on the spot, you need to also be put in handcuffs. And good, let the camera show the roundup of all the evil criminals that are mostly Democrat in America. It's not going to stand. As your God, and your nation is a Christian nation under God. One nation under God. Indivisible, meaning you are not divided. As I said, a house divided cannot stand. Which is equal why Israel is going to have a hand in the Iranian abstraction of Ali Khamenei. Multiple reasons. Israel and the United States need to be in lockstep. That's a fact. Israel can provide air support while the United States goes in with some helicopter and we get Khamenei out. And that's what I mean. We're going to abstract him, get him to Israel, and get a trial underway. This technically is going to destabilize Iran, but that's the plan. Because then the Shah can come in. If the people are backing him, he can come in there. And then if we're having, there may be some sparse firefights. That's where the Shah, I would suggest, coordinate on the ground with your revolutionists to try to get near or around, coordinate, so you can seize these weapons caches. So at least the revolutionists have something, if there are IRGC holdouts, right? They're long live the devil, then, if they're going to continue that nonsense, then at least the revolutionists will have a way to combat that. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick 5, and then we are going to roll on to the next. Okay, and we're back. So, to that point, the international community, in one side of their mouth, can't expect the United States to fund, to lead, to organize NATO in general without backing our play. So President Trump, Hegseth, Vance, Rubio, when I ran my own When I ran my own Godscape on the matter, I believe you would garner more support than you can even imagine if you were to execute on this one. And I do say it needs to be executed rather swiftly because we don't want the Iranian people to lose steam. And here's the difference. You know, after my discussion with Asherah, we roundtabled this, and it did get me thinking, you know, it is a bit of an unfair advantage to compare the Iran situation with the American Revolution. Because the American Revolution, the Patriots did have arms. They did have munitions factories. They had all the tools necessary to fight the British. Iran itself, the people have not had. They're not even allowed guns. So I mean, they're literally fighting with nothing. So it's literally them going to the slaughter. Yeah, and I don't know. Like, numbers are all over the place. The last time I checked numbers, it was around 5,400-ish. That's not good. But here's the deal, right? Because if we don't get Khamenei, then we're not pulling out the root. If we just try to paddle him, right? Imagine just trying to paddle Hitler. Like, oh, Hitler, you did a naughty. You know, you're killing Jews at point blank range. You're destroying families. You're tearing apart Germany. You know, because of the same thing, right? He had Jew hate fever. And again, just because I am rejected nationally by my people and my country, Israel, does not mean that I don't love them. I do. It doesn't mean that I don't care for the world in general. I do. And I know that if we get Khamenei and we stabilize Iran, the future of the Middle East begins to look bright. It begins to look bright. I mean, granted, it may not look bright financially for places like Qatar or the UAE, but they're going to have to get over it, and they're going to have to get more creative. Fellas, if you're sweating bullets because of your oil production decline when Iran comes online and they're unsanctioned and they're bringing oil to market, guys, that's going to be good for the world. We need to free up energy. Energy is not something you need to corner a market on, because if you're trying to rely on one export to really fund all your BS, then you're not that creative. You should have such a diverse portfolio, a diverse economic portfolio, so diverse that you could have more than half of your exports go offline and you're still in the positive. You're still in the black. Or, I don't know if you guys know that, but on like business reports, you want to be in the black, meaning you're not negative. You're not in the red, or you're in the green. So, huge. We get Khamenei, we stabilize the entire Middle East. Because guess what? All the money, Hamas can't operate without weapons. They can't operate without money. None of these terrorist factions are really going to survive. Because guess what? Once, let's just say in this example, let's say the Shah gets into Iran. Let's say we have 30 days and we've established that Iran is no longer under a tyrannical regime. We're no longer looking at Iran as an enemy. Now we're looking at them as a new partner coming online. So all hands on deck. We also want Iran to be a part of NATO. Guys, that's another win. If we get Iran in the game, we get them economically online, we set up agreements that we're not only going to trade with them, but we're going to open them to the markets like we want to do with Venezuela. We want to get trade flowing like very, very good. We want to have robust economical trade. And then we have another partner in NATO. Because right now, guys, we have Israel holding the line in the Middle East. That is frightful. And their number one largest enemy is jihad. That root is Tehran. It is Ali Khamenei. And almost 70% of the Iranian people are for the revolution. Because remember, I've heard this just in general speak, but I've heard that, you know, the 47 years ago, they overthrew the Shah, but why did they overthrow the Shah? Because they wanted a geographical placement close to Israel, because again, they were trying to fulfill their like end time prophecy type of stuff, right? And they're a 100% false demonic religion. That's a fact. There is at least truth in Judaism. There is at least truth in Christianity. You know, I as God have spent 3.5 years trying to iron out theology, only to get the drill faced by both the Jews and the Christians. So we're just going to cut it short in that regard and say, look, I am who I am. I am the burning bush made flesh. I am the one who created the heavens and the earth. You know my name. You know my person. Let's move on. Let's clean the world up and let's start doing fun stuff. Like I say in parables, right? As the father of humanity, the creator of it, the inceptor of it, and I am everybody's senior. I am ancient, more than ancient. So literally, me as the father am home. Well, this is my second home. My first home is in heaven, but as my second home, I'm here. We're going to be punishing the bad kids. We're going to be removing people from the creation, and everyone's room's going to be clean. And then once everyone's room's going to be clean, I, as Elohim, will declare true peace on earth. And when I do that, there will absolutely be no more war. There could potentially be very small skirmishes, but nothing like the world has been accustomed to right now, where people are just like it's a meat grinder, right? The Russia-Ukraine, it's a meat grinder. It's disgusting. It's disheartening. And that is going to end. That is going to end one way or the other. Because let me tell you something. President Trump, hear me. President Trump, hear me. If I'm a betting god, and I don't bet, but if I was, and this was a horse race, I'll put my money on you, PT. Right? You can do this for America. You can do this for Israel. You can do this for the Iranian people. And guess what is the next step? If this happens, the next sequence of events that I as God have planned for the world, because of Russia's reluctance to be agreeable with me, Russia's reluctance to be agreeable with the modern world, and Russia's constant aggression is about to be paid by they are about to pay the heaviest price. The same price as Ali Khamenei. But guess what? The Russian people are the unsung, they are a silent people right now. If they successfully see a transition of dictatorship into a free democracy, the Russians are in suffrage just like the Iranians. The Russian people will overthrow their government next. This is happening. This is happening. And this has never happened in the world stage before. So, for my churches, you teach righteousness. You teach my name. You teach I am one. You teach what I am doing here. Because this is what the future generations will be studying. How does God deal with his humans, his creation, and how does he restabilize the world? Because I want every single country in this earth that I made to be successful, to be safe, to be happy, to be hopeful. Guys, in less than 18 months, I want the news to be filled with so many technological advances that the world is just, wow, we can do that. We can do this. This exists now. I want people to be paying such close attention from elementary to middle to high school because they're like, I want to do this job. I can't wait to fulfill a purpose for my God, for my country, for my earth. Those are stories that we're going to be hearing and seeing if these things come to pass. That is one side. That is one side. That is the equivalent of me before jailbreaking the Hebrews out of Pharaoh. That is the promise. I said, Moshe, come to me. This is what you tell them. This is what you tell them about me. And this is what's going to happen if you do. If he never made that journey to them, the entire history of the world would look different today. So, this is the turning point that the world takes back its power. The free world, the good people, the righteous people. Because when these things are finally in conclusion, Russia's free, Iran is free, the few mom and pop shit kicker bucket shops that still want to run tyranny and shot over good people, they're going to run, hide, and cower because they don't want to be made examples of like Ali Khamenei is going to be, or Nicolas Maduro is, right? These guys are holding on to the devil's work. And as the good God of the Bible, Yahweh, that is my name, that is my flesh, that is my person, that is my existence. I am here to kick some butt. And we, as a team, Team America, Team Israel, Team Free World, Team Europe even, right? We are going to make the world great again. We are going to make the world great again. All right, moving on to the next chapter. Just a quick highlight because I don't want to go back through that one. But so again, you know, the United States troublemakers. You guys are you're not protesting. You're rioting, and you're rioting for unjust causes. See, if you had a real cause to riot, then I would be vocal on your behalf. But as God, as Elohim, there is no just cause that I'm seeing. And frankly, you're doing more to hurt our country. And again, you're defending those who broke the law. And in change of, you're defending those who have broken the law and are here illegally, while assaulting federal and local police officers. Folks, if you were pulled over at a traffic stop and a police officer was in front of your vehicle and that car even went into drive, that police officer has every right in his sovereignty as a lawman or woman. They absolutely have the rights to use a firearm. That's how serious these things are, and that's why it's so shameful to see grown-ups, like grown people, like, don't you have jobs? How do you even show your face in the office the next day with your behavior? If I was your employer, I would fire your fucking ass. I would not tolerate that. You are an un-American, unconstitutional brat. Absolutely appalling. And again, these generations now need to be teaching their kids righteousness. Righteousness is going to keep your children alive. Understanding and obeying the laws of the land is not only going to keep them alive, but guys, as a citizen, you use the laws to your advantage. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. You should be able to trust the men and women of law enforcement to be there when it matters. So congratulations to Flagler County. I am so happy that you did put that as a witness on the TV for me. That really warmed me up. That 11-year-old boy was going to essentially be killed by that monster. And the 15-year-old that stole the truck, right? I'll just give a quick summary for my viewers who don't know what I'm talking about. Here recently in Florida, Flagler County, there was a tip from a righteous citizen. Just a normal everyday person gave a tip to the police, and the police pulled over this truck, and the person, gets out. Well, anyway, they find an 11-year-old tied up in the truck, The guy goes to run. They apprehend him, and the 15-year-old jumps into the driver's seat and speeds off. Well, the guy was obviously sexually abusing the 11-year-old. The 15-year-old's been brainwashed into helping the man. Just like the citizens in democratic cities, they are brainwashed by infiltrated domestic terrorists like Ilhan Omar and Cortez and Warren, and all you people have gotten fat rich on America, and you have been like the figurehead of crime. Speaking of crime, the Clinton crime family, I love that term, because there is very few things that are more accurate than that. Your day of judgment is coming. I suggest your next righteous thing to do is to cooperate. You need to cooperate, because Jeffrey Epstein was a monster. Jeffrey Epstein didn't hang himself. I, as his Elohim, possessed him and hung himself. Those people are, in my eyes, worse than anybody. I absolutely adore children. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Children are the future. If we are laxed on righteousness with our children, we end up with democratic policies, sanctuary cities, shitholes, a destroyed creation, crumbling infrastructure, degraded moral, ethical behavior, and you get grown women shouting in the camera that they're somehow identifying with a dead woman named Renee Good. So you're trying to tell me that you're proud to identify with a lesbian big mouth who assaulted a police officer and lost her life? Then you deserve to lose your citizenship. Then goodbye. Like, truly, pack your shit, Skippy, and get out of here. I thought I was promised so many Democrats to leave America, then why are you still here? Because it is the greatest nation on earth, that's why. And because in only the greatest nation on earth can you be a complete scumbag and you still have the constitutional rights that people have died for you to act such a fool. You do understand with great freedom comes great responsibility. You are responsible for the people in which you govern and the people that are being governed. You are responsible to be good citizens, be good neighbors, be good to your country, be loyal to the foundational laws that secure our freedom as a whole. And guess what? From the top to the bottom, from the president down to the homeless, everything in between, I am still your God. Whether you want me to or not, whether you like me or not, that ain't gonna change, because that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Okay? So Clintons, you should cooperate. Because if you don't, it'll be worse. Alright, where are we at here? About 47 minutes. Alrighty. Next up. So Greenland. So I have heard several talks, and I have kind of weighed my opinion. But the end of the day on this one is, President Trump, you have free will and you have autonomy. So this is obviously, you do have the final say in this one. I will tell you what I have counseled about upstairs and with Asherah. This is what we've come up with to pretty much be the most bipartisan, cooperative, and neutral way to approach the Greenland issue. So Greenland, if we set the expectations of 3% more from every NATO country, this is going to fund Iron Dome, so then America is not footing the bill. That project can be built, placed in and on Greenland. That will obviously be a big barrier to any intercontinental ballistic missile that comes in from the east. And then we should do something similar to the west. So I would say Alaska. And then a resource vestment split between the United States and Denmark, respectively. NATO can contribute personnel, marine presence, and land presence. So what I would say is, with the resource mining agreement, The Americans, exclusive, have rights to be able to mine the Greenland property. And then we can give a 20 to 25% kickback to Denmark. So Denmark, you don't have a lot of much of anything. So you guys are running on a very, very small budget as it is. So I would say let us mine there freely, the waters around it, the land within it, and then we use the northern part of Greenland for, again, our military bases, NATO joint effort bases. It'd be great for training drills, great for Iron Dome, great to put in silos that can house nuclear weapons if need be. And essentially, we'll just give Denmark a 20 to 25% kickback on whatever resources that we're mining. That'll be an income stream for Denmark. That'll be a joint presence for NATO. And I mean, at the end of the day, something like this has never been necessarily done before, because I would say this is just something I'm kind of putting together right now. So if we did something, I'm a visual god, so I like to have a picture. So if we actually did this, let's say, because President Trump, I don't disagree with you at all when it comes to, if we owned Greenland, then we would obviously protect it better, we would invest more. But what if we did a two-state solution? Yeah. I've been hearing two-state solution forever now when it comes to Israel, the West Bank, Israel and Gaza, and the international community has no effing problem with a two-state solution. So here's my proposal. That's option one, what I just talked about. Setting the expectations, 3% more to fund the Iron Dome. That's every country in NATO. That'll fund the Iron Dome project. The resource investment split between U.S. and Denmark, respectively. 20 to 25% back to Denmark, with 100% United States only mining those resources. And then, obviously, what we do with them is us. And then NATO in general can contribute personnel, marine presence, and land presence. That's option one. Option two, we do a two-state solution. Greenland is then cut in half. The bottom end of Greenland, which has the houses, as those iconic, beautiful photos show. I love the multicolored houses, by the way. I think that's beautiful. Like, truly, Greenland is a beautiful, beautiful place. If we were to annex the bottom part of Greenland and then let Denmark keep it in whatever way you want, right? So you guys can keep, drawing a little Denmark flag here. So southern half of Greenland can stay Greenland, and then we will just do a straight purchase from Denmark for the northern part. And then we can still have our 20 to 25% permissions if we're going to be mining anything like oil or rare materials on the Denmark side of our annexed state. Then we can give the kickback to Denmark. But if America is putting up, like, the American flag, so it'll be the, you know, I don't know how you guys want to phrase that, but basically it would be the Greenland Republic of America to the north, and then the Greenland Republic of Denmark to the south. So very much similar to the Virgin Islands, where you have St. Thomas. Damn, is it? You know, St. Thomas and oh, that's gonna drive me crazy. Hold on a minute. What is it? Virgin Islands name, St. Thomas, and what else? It can't be St. Thomas and St. Thomas, can it? Is it? Mm-hmm. Might be. Hold on. well, forget it. I was going to say, I think St. Thomas is pretty much split. But, whatever. Pretty much the same stuff that we're talking about doing with Israel, right? But instead of sharing, Gaza, instead of, like, letting a non-existent Palestinian thing exist there, we're going to have the wonderful, righteous nation of the United States taking the northern half of Greenland. Financially, it'll help Denmark. You still get to keep your houses. You still get to keep your name, Greenland. You still get to keep everything. But at minimum, you're going to have a 20 to 25% boost in your income. And then we're going to have an open door for the United States to hire professional miners to come in and get something done. Grab my pen. Okay. So I think that will about cover today. I know I have said I've been trying to keep it under the hour, and I know I'm not doing too well in that, but business is business, and we must continue to move forward. So one last thing I'm going to check. Okay, so the sun is a couple hours set now in Iran, and it's Thursday in Iran right now. So, truly, if we could get Operation MIGA, Make Iran Great Again, or even, Operation Make Earth Great Again. So it all kind of play on words. It's kind of funny, but it's true, and it needs to happen. And the only thing that stops it, truly, the only thing that stops my plans, let me retract. Nothing stops my plans, but I, as the Lord, do give pathway and provision, because again, I'm huge on sweat equity. Human beings, you need to work for it. You need to work for it, because you know what? When you work for something, you value it more. You value it more. Which is also why, even when it comes to my stepdaughter in college, there is no more just free financial aid, right? They're not going to let you become... You're not going to be able to go into debt up to your eyebrows, right, at 18 years old to fund an education that is mainly going to be useless to you because of these liberal arts degrees. That shit's stopping, and I'm glad for it. My daughter is working her tail off, has worked her butt off to get A's and B's. The kid has almost a 4.0 GPA. I'm saying she has busted her butt to get to where she is today. And the college that she selected, right, it was a family decision. Like, all these things are going to mean so much more to her when she graduates college in 4 years, or 5 years, because she's technically finishing high school right now. But she's not only going to appreciate those things more, but like the value of those things is substantially higher. She's not going to college because she's bored. The kid's known what she wants to do since the 3rd grade. She's wanted to be a teacher. And I look at that as a noble profession. So I do have not only soft spots, but I also have independent provision for people that have noble jobs. A teacher is a noble job in my eyes. A law enforcement officer is a noble job. Firefighters, emergency medical service personnel, nurses, not necessarily doctors, but I actually view nurses in some ways kind of on the weight scale a little bit more, because nurses are the ones they're the ones doing the jabs. They're pulling the blood. They're wiping sweat off of foreheads. They're the ones that their hands are getting dirty every day. They're putting in those 12, 14-hour shifts, and they're running on almost empty. Like, these people are saints in my eyes, and doesn't necessarily mean that there are nurses that are sinful. There are every group of people is going to have sin, but you know what also helps is if you are already in a noble profession, right? If I'm looking at someone who's a police officer versus someone who works at the porn store, you're not the same in my eyes. you are not the same in my eyes. Because one has a noble job that is to protect citizens, to uphold the law, to secure the world in which we live, and the other one is making a paycheck and has no problem with all the sin and all the flesh and all the world that comes with the other job. So I'm just saying, I do honor and support our noble professions, and of course, being a leader of a church was supposed to be a noble profession. I am extremely agitated that it has lost its nobility, it has lost its piousness, and it has turned into a manufacture of money, and it has absolutely no regard for the God in which it is about. It has no inclination to want to change and form to the godliness in which my book is supposed to teach you. No, not getting into that. All right, we're at the hour, guys. I hope everyone has a good Thursday, and we will see you here same time tomorrow. And keep your eyes and ears open, because the world is changing. So either get on or get off. But the train is pulling out of the station. We're going to make the world great again. All right.